Okay, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining. And today again, we'll see and continue with the topics that we have seen yesterday. So yesterday we were seeing about the properties, how to do property transfers, how to set and get the properties using Groovy, and we'll also see how we can set and get the properties manually. All right, and we also understand how we can work with both the XML as well as the JSON. And today we have some topics like assertions, script assertions, and reading data from Excel sheet. That's what the agenda for today's session. But before that, we have worked on something that is we created some basic Groovy script, right? So we have a use case where we want to generate a random ID, and okay, and we have used math.diatom into 1000, which means it will generate a number from 1 to 1000, and it will generate a floating number. So we want to convert it to integer, so we typecasted that back to integer. Okay, now we have stored this in a sweet test case level property, and then we can also use it here, right? We also used it here. That's absolutely working fine, everything is good. But imagine I also want to create these values from randomly. First name, the last name, right? Email, everything I want to generate it randomly. Though I can write a lot of Groovy scripting and then make them possible, but it is a little difficult for me, right? So in those cases, I can leverage Java libraries. Again, guys, both Groovy and Java is almost same. Okay, they use same compilers. Okay, so whatever the code that you write in Java, you can write the same code, can convert the same code into Groovy. Okay, so in Postman, let me open the Postman where we have generated the random first name, last name, and all with the help of Postman libraries, right? So inbuilt Postman library. So let me go there, and then I'll also show you so that you can have a comparison between those two things. In the create user, right? If you notice, we are generating all these things randomly, right? So even in the JSON collection, post body. So if you notice, random integer is getting generated. First name is also randomly generated. Last name is also randomly generated. Email is also randomly generated. So Postman, it is inbuilt, so we don't have to do anything. In SoapUI, for integer, that's okay. We have written some code and it is working. That is also fine. But if you notice, for generating random first name, last name, and all, I need to generate a meaningful name. If I have to generate some random words like ABCD, something like this, then we can easily do it using Groovy code. But if it is a random name, proper name, then I need to leverage certain libraries that are available in Java. Okay, for that there is a library called as Faker. Okay, I hope you all know about Java and Maven. So if you notice, there is a library that is called as Java Faker, which means it will help you to generate a lot of fake data. Okay, so it has all the methods inbuilt, so you don't have to do a lot of work. It will help you to do it. Okay, so let's go to the class. To use this, again, it's very simple. You need to create an object for that class. Okay, and then it has no Faker. If you type just Faker, okay, if you type just Faker, put a dot, you have a lot of options. Okay, suppose I want to create the name of an avatar. Okay, then dot, so you have a lot of options. Okay, this image. Okay, so same way, there is a lot of options. If you want to generate a random number, you can type number, and then it is telling number between, which means it can help you to generate a number between this particular minimum number and the maximum number. You define the range, I will generate a random number between those range. See how easy it is, right? And then if you notice, it can also have numbers like digits. So you know how many digits you want. Okay, and then random digit, not zero. You want to generate a random digit, but it should not be zero. Okay, so in those cases you can leverage all these methods and then you can create. Okay, that is okay. IntelliJ UI is more clean than Eclipse. Yes, guys. Okay, I was using Eclipse for very long time, maybe 4 to 5 years, but IntelliJ I started to use very recently, and it was really good. Okay, good. Now let's come back to the topic. And suppose I want to generate a number between 10 to uh, 30. Okay, so it is very easy now. So that's it. Okay, it will generate a number between 10 to 30, and here it will generate a number with the digits of 3 digits. 3-digit number it can generate. Here it will generate a number from 1 to 12. So let's try to run this test and then see what's happening. So if you notice, It generated a number from 10 to 30. It generated a 3-digit number. It generated a number from 1 to 12, right? So it's how easy it is, right? So the same thing we are going to do in SoapUI. Okay, we are going to leverage this library and then we're going to use it in the SoapUI. The same way, you can also generate random names. Okay, figure dot name. Okay, dot first name. It will generate your first name for you. Okay, and then faker dot name dot last name. And I want an email ID as well. Okay, email. I don't know whether there is a method called to generate a random email, but we can do some tweaking. Okay, so what I can do, I can generate a random full name, and then I can also append @ some gmail.com, something like this, to generate a random Gmail. Okay, so like this, you can basically this is full name. I can use a full name. Now, if I run this, okay, it is generating some random names. Okay, maybe this is having a space. What I can do, basically, I can use a first name, and then .@. So this is just a random thing, right? So we can use like this. Okay, so this is what we are going to do in SoapUI now. Okay, same understanding, we're going to take it to SoapUI. Let's go there. Let's remove all this stuff. Okay, we'll also generate the random. Okay, we also know how to generate this. Okay, let me comment out all these things. Okay, I don't need all these things. Maybe I'll create a new script file. Okay, search step, Groovy Script, maybe a faker script. Okay, we're using faker script. Okay, let me disable this so that it won't run. Maximize this. Now, in order to use this faker library, we need the jar files, right? In case of Maven, we added the dependency and it will download the jar files for us, right? Now, you can also download those jar files separately. Okay, Java faker jar download, something like this, and then you can download it. Okay, so from this way you can download it. So I have already downloaded them. So once you download them, go to the C. Okay, sorry guys, C, and then you have your program files. You need to go to the folder. The Smart Beer is the company that is creating this SoapUI. Go to this particular folder, bin folder, ext folder. You need to download that Java faker jar file and then put it in this place. Okay, same way you need to download this common slang jar file and then snake YAML file. So in order to work with Java faker, you need these 3 libraries. Okay, ignore about the JXL, that is for Excel reading. In your case, you just need to download these 3 jar files and put it in this place. Okay, don't worry about it. I will attach in the video itself. Okay, just a minute guys, just a minute. Sorry guys, I'm back. So yeah, so you need to download these 3 jar files and then put it in this place. Okay, exactly. If you want to leverage any of the Java libraries, whatever the libraries, if you want to read from databases, then you can download a JDBC driver and jar file and then you can put it here, right? So suppose you want to work with Selenium in SoapUI, you can download that Selenium jar file and put it in this place, so that SoapUI gets the knowledge about all these jar files. Okay, don't worry about these jar files. Now I will share it. I will upload along with the videos these jar files. Okay, you can directly download and put it in this particular directory. Okay, don't put it in any other directory. If you also notice the readme file, it is clearly telling SoapUI external folder, place external jars that should be added to the SoapUI class path here. For example, JDBC drivers, custom libraries, etc. Okay, but after putting this, you need to definitely restart your SoapUI. Otherwise, the changes won't be reflected. Very, very important. Please restart it. Okay, close this and then open it again. In my case, I have already added it, so I don't have to restart. Okay, once you do this, let's take the same code that we have written. So first, we need to do the import statement. Just copy the same import statement, paste it here. Okay, that's it. Second one, We don't need main method, all those stuff in case of Groovy. So next line is this line, correct? Just copy this, paste this. Now this is faker class. Okay, this is in Java, but in Groovy there is no need to define the type. Okay, def. Okay, if it is a in Java we write int a equal to 10, but in Groovy it is just like this. Okay, you just mention def. That's it. Whether it is a string or integer, array list, everything it can understand. Okay, same way we can just tell faker equal to new faker. Good. Next line, if I want to generate a new number between a range, then you can choose this, right? In my case, I want to generate it from maybe 100 to 1,000, something like this. Okay, then you can use like this. Okay, once you generate a number, I'm storing this in something like this. Okay, now I also want to generate a first name, last name, everything, right? Okay, def. So this is the code that we have written to generate it. Now I want to print all these things. Okay, if you want to print it, what you can do? Okay, I want to print it, and then let's see what's happening. So it is printing me 931 titles. So it is generating them randomly. Now I don't want to print it. Basically, I want to feed it to this particular request as the input, right? So in those cases, what we normally did previously, we generated a random one, and then we stored it in a test case level custom property. Okay, we have stored that ID in a test case level custom property, and then we have referenced it in the code. The same thing, after we generating this, we also need to do the same. Okay, let's do it. Let's go to the faker script, and here instead of just logging.info, I want to basically set a property, right? In those cases, maybe I'll get a copy paste of this value. Okay, let's copy this. Guys, we have already learned how to do this. Okay, I'm not explaining it again. Test runner dot test case, I want to set a test property that is ID, and the ID is this. Okay, so I'm setting this. That's it. Oh, after this, I want to set one more property, so that is test runner. I want to set it as first name, and this is basically the random first name. Okay, okay, and then we also can copy paste this. I also need the last name. I also need the random email. So this is last name, and this is email. Okay. Now once you run this, okay, it'll set the custom level properties at the test case level. Let's try to run it and see what's happening. So if you notice, it has generated ID. Okay, let's remove this. It's not even of our concern now. ID it generated randomly. Random first name it generated. Random last name it generated, and then the email also it got generated. Okay. Now after this, okay, if I run it again, the values keep changing. So every time it generates a new value. So now this is really cool. Once you generate this, now I go to the create employee. Instead of hard coding with some value, we already have reference this to take the value from the test case and the ID property. Correct. The same way we are going to do it for first name. First name I'm not hard coding. I'll remove all these things. Okay, put a dollar, curly braces, hash hash, test case, and then the value is first name. So this is how you have to reference. Okay, now this is done. Let's try to run this test and then see what's happening. Okay, let's try to create an employee. Okay, it is telling there is a syntax error, that is problem. Okay, unexpected token w in JSON at 31st line. Okay, am I missing anything? Okay, generated a string. Okay, that's fine. We have to add double quotes here. Oh, this will become a string. So okay, so I have missed this to add the double quotes. That's the problem. So now this has become a string. Okay, whatever that is getting generated, it is now creating the employee. So now the next time you are running this, okay, let's comment this out, disable the test step. If you go to the test case now, okay, if I run it, so it has basically everything got passed, but this time the create employee is generating a new value every time you run it. So this will be really handy if you are doing manual testing in your company and you want to generate random data randomly. You do one small thing like this, and then you run it multiple times. Okay. Suppose I want to run this multiple times, you can click on this loop test case continuously. You want to generate random data into a database. What do you normally do? You have to go and do them manually, right? But in case of SoapUI, you just click on this. If you click on this, after you run it, it will run it. Okay. So if you want 100 data, you can basically do this. Okay. And then you can stop it. Okay. Whenever you feel you are enough. Okay. So this is how easy it is, right? So basically it can run almost 1,000 times within 1 minute or 2 minutes, and then you can basically generate a lot of data for you. Okay, if I make a get employees call now, it'll actually fetch me a lot of results. Okay, so if you notice, there are so many data now. Okay, so many data. It's because just one single touch, we are generating so many data. So this you can leverage in your manual testing. Okay, good guys. So we have also seen about this, and we'll now go to the update employee. Let's enable this test step. So in the update employee, what I want to do, I want to whatever the employee that I have created. Okay, I want to get that id. I want to get that id, and then I want to update the first name and the last name alone in that. Okay, so this is my use case. The same thing we have done, right? In Postman also we have done the same thing. In the post employee, first we will generate everything randomly, and then in the update employee, what we normally do, we fetch that from the external files, right? We use the CSV file, and then we updated the values. The same thing we are going to do in the SoapUI. Okay, same assignment we are going to do in Postman as well as SoapUI. So once you create an employee, you want to fetch that id so that you can update that id. Okay, so I need to fetch this information. Okay, how will I fetch this? So do insert a step, property transfer. I want to uh, id transfer. Either you can directly fetch it from, see, id, whatever the id we are generating, it is already available here. Okay, it's already available in the test case level property at this particular one. Okay, I can directly reference this here. Okay, so whatever the id that we have, okay, I can directly reference this test case id. I can directly do this. But just to showcase you guys how we can do the request response chaining, I am not doing this. Okay, otherwise you can directly do this. You can click on update employee, and it will update that particular employee, that id, whatever the id that we have now in the test case level, it will update that. So it is very easy thing. So but I don't want to do this, because I also want to show you guys how to use Jsonpath, how to do request response chaining. So that's the reason I'm not going to do this. Rather, I'm going to fetch this value from the response and then pass it on to the next request. Okay, now let's right click, insert step, property transfer, and I'm going to do a id transfer. Okay, I'm going to transfer an id. Good. Click on plus button. What do you want to transfer? So I want to transfer id. Okay, from where you want to get this value? From the source is my create employee request, and in that I want to get it from the response. Since this is a JSON, you cannot use XPath. In the XML you can use XPath. In the JSON you have to use Jsonpath. Jsonpath is the same Jsonpath that we have used in Postman. Okay, we have used JSON path here, right? The same JSON path. I hope we have used this in post. Okay, okay, I think, yeah. So this is the one that we used, right? The JSON path, the same thing. Okay, if you are finding it difficult, you can also leverage online tools to find the JSON path. Okay, good. Now, what I am interested in getting the ID value, right? So what you can do is basically dollar dot. mm, let's minimize this. So there is a root node, okay, that is dollar, okay, dot ID. That's it. Okay, let's go there and just mention. Okay, I have minimized this. It's not able to see it now. It should be somewhere here. Okay, ID transfer. Okay, now dollar dot ID. That's it. Now if you click on run button, it will tell you, okay, missing target property. Tell me where you want to store this. Okay, you want to send this to update employee. Okay, I want to send this to update employee. Where you want to send this? Okay, in the update employee, you need to feed this in the headers, right? So basically, you need to tell, where is this update employee? Why it's not opening? So let's close all these things. Sometimes, okay, the SoapUI will behave like this. Okay, you have to adjust. That's how it is. Sometimes it won't work. Okay, let's close this as well. Let's save this once again. Okay, save all, click on save all and then close it. Sometimes it will behave like this. Okay, no other go. Need to open it again. While closing it, just make sure you save it and then close it. Okay, so go to the JSON server project that we are working on, sanity suit. This is the one. Okay, in the update employee, okay, I want to feed the ID in the in the endpoint, right? So basically I need to feed it here. Okay, how will I do this? Go to the ID transfer and then here it is asking you where you want to do it. Okay, I want to do it in the endpoint. Okay, good, that's it. Let's try to run it. Invalid JSON null. Okay, maybe create employee is not it there. Okay, let's go here, run it once again. Okay, maybe I have to generate this faker script again. Guys, the create employee has failed. Okay, because if you are trying to pass the same values, okay, the values are now ID is some ID, and then you are trying to generate the same ID. Okay, you are trying to create an employee with the same ID, so it is throwing unique constraint error. So we have to generate a new ID. So that for that we need to run it. Okay, once you run it, it will generate a new data. Now if you run it, create employee will be there. There will be a valid JSON. Okay, now you can close this. In the update employee, okay, now we go to the ID transfer here, and here I want to update this, and okay, that's it. So let's try to run it. Let's see what's happening. See, now the ID is getting transferred as 441. Okay, now let's go there. In the update employee, you can remove all these things. Okay, you don't need this. Okay, so the endpoint itself is updating us 441, but I want only the ID to get updated. Okay, there is something wrong. So let's go there and see, there is something called as ID. So I need to update that. Okay, let's try to run it again. Now this is coming. That's fine, but I need to change this back. It is create employee, copy this localhost, and then slash employees slash 441. That is correct. Okay, good. Now if you run this, okay, it will update the 441 ID. So let's try to run everything on the whole. Okay, let's go here and then click on the run button. So if you notice, it will go create a new employee, and then it will transfer the ID. Suppose let's say the create employee has created an ID of 333. Then it transferred the ID 333. It will transfer this. Okay, maybe you can go to the logs and then see them clearly. Performed transfer of ID. So the value that is transferred is 333 from this, and in the update employee, the ID is now feeded as 333, and we have also updated the employee details with the first name, last name, and email. Okay, again you can also generate some random values, or we can also feed it from the Excel sheet. Okay, good guys, let me stop here and then I'll open the forum for questions. If you have any questions, please ask me now. Any questions? I know Vijaya, you are new, you may not be able to understand. Okay, you just be patient, like. And then for others, any questions, guys? Guys, at least tell me whether you want me to explain again. Okay, I can do it. Okay, if you feel it is a little tricky, whatever we have done in Postman, we are doing the same thing. We are not modifying anything. Okay, we are generating a random first name, last name, email using the Groovy code. Okay, to use the Groovy code, we also understood how to first do it in Java, and then we have changed the same code into Groovy. Okay, that's the easiest way to remember things, right? Okay, when things are like getting difficult, break it down into simple steps and do it. That's how I approach. I'll also recommend you to do the same way. Okay, we generate the values and then we stored it in the test case level property, and then we have referenced them in the next request. Okay, once we created an employee, we do the request response chaining. For that, we used Jsonpath. We have already learned about how to use Jsonpath in the Postman, so I'm not going deeper there. If you want me to explain again, I can also do it. Okay, we fetch this value ID from here, and then we transferred it to this particular request, and then now this request is sending 333 as the ID, so the endpoint is getting changed. Okay, so this is the how we can use request response chain. And now I also want to delete the employee after creating all these things. Okay, so now if you notice, I can also uh, enable this particular one. So after updating the employee, I want to delete the employee. For deleting the employee, again I want the ID. Okay, now see, that's the problem. So whatever the ID that we have before, okay, is now available at this particular place. Okay, either you can transfer this from here to here, or you can basically transfer that from the create employee to delete employee. So we'll also do that. So insert a new property transfer, id transfer to. Okay, this is maybe true. I want to transfer this where you from where you want to transfer. Okay, this is not showing enough options. Okay, let's go and create id. I want to transfer id from create employee. From the response using the JSON path, the value is $.id, and then where I want to send it, I want to send it to delete employee. And where you want to send it, to the id field. That's it. Okay, and then if you run this, it transferred 333. Now if you go to the delete employee, the id value is now 333. If you click on this, it will send you no content, because the 333 value in the database will be deleted now. Okay, so that's how easy it is. Or if you are trying to use it in multiple places, either you can use multiple transfers like this, or you can, once you generate this, you fetch the value and then store it in a store it in a particular suite level or test case level property, and then reference in the delete employee or update employee. Guys, I'm trying, I'm convinced that you all can follow me. If you don't follow me, maybe if you want me to go a little slow, please let me know. Okay, otherwise I don't know whether you can able to follow it or not. Okay, it's completely normal. We are only 15 people among ourselves, so it's completely normal to raise your hand and say, okay, I don't understand or follow this. Okay, that's very very important. Okay, good. Now we can also relate it. Now as a whole test step, okay, if I go and run it, what it will do, it will first get all the employee details, then it will get one employee detail. It will create a faker script. It will generate all the values, new values, to create a new employee. Then it will update that employee. Then it will also delete the employee. So you are doing one whole process. Okay, so let's try to run it and then see what's happening. That's it, guys. So it has created a new employee. It will update it, it will delete it, and then everything is done. Okay, end-to-end flow is done now. Okay, but if you notice, the results is not much viewable. So you can also run it in a command prompt so that you can get some results, but we'll also see about how we can do a lot of see how we can generate a CSV report, and then some response and all. We can store it in txt file tomorrow. But before that, we want to cover one more important topic, that is about assertions. In Postman, we have written a lot of assertions with the help of the snippets that are available in the right hand side in the Postman, right? Same thing we are going to do it in SoapUI. Okay, we are going to do it, write a lot of assertions. So let's take an example. Let's say get employees. Okay, Once I hit on this get employees, okay, we are getting the response back. But if you notice, there is a assertion tab from where you can write your assertions and do some validations. Suppose I want to do some validations. Let's say I want to check whether the time now it took is 39 milliseconds. I want to validate that, okay, whether it is less than 500 milliseconds all the time. In that case, go to the SLA. SLA means service level agreement, the response SLA between your client and server. Okay, we had made an agreement that you need to provide a response. Let's say the make my trip on Indigo. If the Indigo is taking 2 minutes to give the response, make my trip cannot publish it. So there will be a response SLA, service level agreement, that the Indigo needs to provide the details within this particular second. Okay, so that we will need to assert it. Okay, let's choose this and then click on add. Now it is asking specify the maximum response time that you want to give. I want to maximum allow it to 500. Okay, if it is more than 500, it will fail. Okay, now we have added one assertion. What else we can add? We have also done HTTP status code assertion, right? So click on this valid HTTP status code. What is the response code? In case of Postman, once we send the request, okay, we'll get the response back. Okay, we'll get the response back as 201. In case of get employees, we'll get the response back as response code as 200. The same thing we can give here. Okay, for this is a get call, so I'm giving 200. If there are multiple response code, you can give like this. Okay, but in my case, there is only one, so I can give 200. So I am also doing um, status code checks. Okay, suppose if you give some 200 201, okay, now it will see it is telling it is in red color. The last run is failed. Response status code is 200, is not acceptable list of status codes. Okay, so whatever you have mentioned, it is not there, so you can change. Okay, so it will also tell you whether it is a pass or fail. Okay, good. We can also add more sessions. Let's go here, and then let's also use so some important things. Okay, maybe contains. Okay, this contains helps me to check whether in the response body you have something. Okay, let's say I want to validate whether Sebastian is there in the response. Okay, click on contains, add, and then Sebastian. Okay, click on OK. Now this is getting passed. Okay, maybe you can rename it in a much better way, because this is just to contains a session. Suppose if I give small letters, okay, Sebastian in small letters, yes, small letters. If I click on OK, okay, it should fail, but I don't know whether it is already having Sebastian in small letter. So that's the reason it is passing. But you can give ignore case in comparison, so that it will not compare the lower case and upper case before doing the comparison. Okay, so that's okay. I think there is already Sebastian in small letters here somewhere. That's the reason it is passing. Okay,
the Gmail email ID is having a lowercase Sebastian.
Sorry. Okay,
The
so
email ID is having
we can do. Okay, we can do that. So let's say I want to assert this email. So let's first copy this. Okay, and then go here. I want to assert this. Okay, I didn't copy it properly. Cancel it. Copy. So Jackie is there, right? So let's try to run it, and then yeah, it is getting passed. Let's change it to small letters and then see what's happening. Okay, it is failing. See, it is failing because there is a case sensitiveness. So what I can do, I can basically click on ignore case, so that it won't compare the cases. It will just compare the words. Okay, let's click on OK. Now it is getting passed. So using this, you can also do assertions. Okay,
So
what else?
Amuthan, in case of a duplicate element, like how it will validate?
Then you need to go by JSON path and then go to that particular field and then validate it. Okay,
Okay.
this is an array, right? JSON array. Okay, this is a JSON array. In the first index you have id as 1, right? So you can go to this particular field and then validate whether that particular email is having this value. Okay, let's do that. Okay, let's do that. Let's go click on this, and then if you notice, there is a JSON path match. Okay, so previously we used JSON path to assert in Postman, right? The same JSON path we are going to use it here. Okay, let's click on OK. Let's minimize this so that it's a little more readable. Okay, the Windows is always a problem in case of SoapUI. Okay, what I basically want to do is I want to assert whether first name is Sebastian. Okay, in the first index. So what you can do, in the root node, okay, in the 0th index, okay, in the 0th index, I want to get the first name. Okay, I want to get the first underscore name, and I want to check whether it is equal to Sebastian. Okay, that's it, guys. Click on save. Now it is getting passed. Okay, you can also, there is a button called select from current, which means it will automatically select it for you. You don't have to type it or manually. It will find the zeroth, okay, zeroth index, and then it will find the first underscore name for you. Okay, you just click on select from current. Okay, it will select all these things. Okay, then you can do a click. Okay, expecting, it is basically getting all the values. Okay, but it should be just Sebastian. I don't know why it is zeroth one and then first name. It should basically give me Sebastian. Okay, let's take an example. Online Jsonpathfinder. Okay, Jsonpathfinder, and then we'll check what is the expert the Jsonpath for that. So let's copy this guy, whole JSON. Go to this particular guy. Okay, and then if you notice, I want to get this. So this is the one, right? So zero, this is what we are using, so it should actually give us correct value. So let's go here, and then I don't know why it is not working properly. So yeah, this is the same one we are using. Maybe use a dollar in between and then select from current. So now this is giving, so you need to add dollar. Okay, dollar is root node. Okay, in the root node I'm fetching the zeroth index dot first name. Okay, in this case it is actually fetching you Sebastian. Okay, now if I give one here, okay, let's try to select from current. So it's say Gustave. Okay, so in the first index there is Gustave. Okay, let's go there and see what is there in the first index. Yeah, Gustave is the first name in this first index. So the same way you can go out and do all these assertions. Okay, that's the beauty about doing assertions. You can do exactly this particular field is having this particular value. Okay, you can, if you want to just check test, click on test. It is telling okay, this is, there is a match. Okay, success, good. And then after that you can save it. Okay, and then what else you can do? I can also want to do how many employees are there now in the database. Okay, then you can go here. There is something called as Jsonpath count. It will be there in the property content. Yeah, Jsonpath count. Okay, choose this, uses an JSONpath expression to count the occurrences of an element applicable to any property containing JSON. Okay, this can be only used on JSON, not on the XML. So what you can basically do is you can count how many employees are there. So basically I want to count how many employees are there. So I just mention dollar, because Jsonpath for dollar will give me the the number of things, right? So I'll just click on select from current. So for now there is 33 employees now in the database. Okay, good. Now I can also do a test that will obviously pass. Okay, so I'm basically telling or validating how many employees are there. Suppose let's save this. I'll go ahead and create a new employee. Okay, maybe if I create a new employee it will throw error because the ID is already generated. Okay, it's there. So now it created a new employee. If I go again and click on get employees again, it will fail because see, it was expecting 33 but it was actually 35. Okay, so it's getting failed. So you can go ahead and change it. So this basically helps you to validate the count, exact count. Okay, so yeah, now if I click on select from current, it will update and then you can save it. Okay, so that's how you can do a lot of assertions. And what else we can do? We can also do whether there is a JSON path existence. Okay, whether there is a field that is matching. Okay, maybe we can use a different example. Maybe I'll use a get employee, and in this I want to write some assertions. Okay, let's say this is a value we have. I want to write an assertion. Go to property content, JSON path existence. Okay, you are checking whether that particular JSON path is there. In this case it is root node dollar email ID. So I want to check whether there is a email ID or ID, something like this. Okay, JSON path existence. Okay, dollar dot email. Okay, I'm just checking whether it is there. I'm not checking the value, or I'm not checking whether it is a string type. I'm just checking whether the value. Okay, yes, the value is present. Suppose if I say email one, it is telling it's false, it is not present. Okay, so that's how easy it is. You can just validate whether that particular field is there or not. Okay, test. Okay, that is done, pass. I can see a chat. What is there in security assertion? Security assertion, I haven't done that. Maybe you can explore. That is not in scope. At least I will try to do it, but I have never done that. Okay, good. Good. So now we have also done the JSON path. Okay. What else we can do? We can also do script assertion. Whatever the assertion we have written, a lot of assertions, right? We have used response SLA, JSON path count, all those things we have used. Same thing in the script assertion. You can write the script to validate it. Okay. In Postman also we have written JavaScript snippet to write it, right? The same way you can do it here. Okay. How can we assert that a response is not null? We are going to see that now exactly. Okay, good question. We are going to do it. Now the script. In the script assertions, if you notice, there is 3 variables that you can use. In Postman, we have only PM variable. Here we have 3 variables. Okay. For log is a variable that is used to help you to log some info. Context is also you can get some values, do some operations. Message exchange is where you can get the details about response, request, all those information. So I don't know what to use because in free version of the SoapUI, you cannot get all this information, guys. If you just type message exchange, okay, dot, it won't populate you all the options it is having. Okay, that's the reason this is free tool. Okay, in the paid version, it will auto suggest all your things. Okay, but we have also option to validate that. So what do? You go and search it in Google. Okay, maybe I want to know about message exchange, right? Message exchange SoapUI Java docs. That's it. Just search it. Then click on the link. Then you get this particular Java documentation. Now, if you notice, if you want to get an endpoint, you can use get endpoint. Okay, if you want to get the response, you can use get response. Okay, if you want to get some, you want to check whether it is having a response, then you can use has response. Now, as Kavi mentioned, we want to validate whether it is having a response. So what I can do from the documentation, I can understand there is a has response method that can give you boolean. Okay, let's try to use this method has response. Okay, let's try to see what it is printing. Okay, log dot info. Okay, so it is telling script assertion passed, but basically it is just telling true. If you want to assert, we have to mention assert. I want to assert whether this is equal to true, something like this. Then only the script assertion will be actually passed. Okay, good. So now we have asserted whether it is having a response. That's cool. What else we want to assert? I want to assert whether the time taken. What is the time taken? Okay, assert. Okay, message exchange dot get time taken. I want to get the time taken, and I want to come assert whether it is less than 500. Okay, you can also do this. Okay, script assertion. Suppose if I mention this as 10. Okay, let's see what's happening. So it is telling assert message exchange dot time taken is failed because you are expecting it to be less than 10, but it is 39. So the value is failed. Okay, so that's how it is giving you an error. Okay, so now we can update this to back to some value. Okay, so basically you can use this to assert all your stuff. What else you want to assert? Okay, I want to do a lot more than this. Okay, I also want to validate whether the last name field is this or my ID is 2, whether my first name is Sebastian. I want to do all these assertion. How will I do this? How will I get the response here? Okay, in those cases, you also notice, go to the docs. If you notice, there is a get response method. Using that also you can get it. Okay, but I already have done a lot of research and then have some easy way to do all these things. Okay, in the message exchange, from the message exchange, there is something called as a response variable. From that, you can get response content. Okay, once you get this response content, what you can do, you can store it in some variable def, maybe some response. Okay, now I want to work with this JSON, right? For that, you need a class. You cannot directly work with it. Okay, for that, we need to import it. Previously in Faker script, okay, while using Faker, we imported the class file because that is an external class file. We need to tell Groovy that we are going to use this. The same way, we're going to do some importing so that we can work with JSON slurper. Okay, import Groovy. There are certain things that you cannot remember. That's absolutely fine, but these are all one-time efforts. There is no other way to do with this. Okay, Groovy.json sort JSON slurper. JSON slurper is a class. Using that, you can parse the information from a JSON. Okay, good guys. Now I want to pass this information. What I can do, basically, I store this in JSON equal to new JSON slurper. Okay, JSON slurper. I'm creating an object for this. Okay, object for this, and then dot after there is a past text non-static method. Guys, new JSON slurper. What does this mean? It's, we are creating an object, right? In Java, we also create an object for faker. How will do new faker? The same way we are doing it. Okay, new JSON slurper. After creating that object, okay, reference variable, you can access the non-static methods, right? There is a parse text non-static method where you pass the response that you already have. Whatever the response I have, I just pass to this particular method. Okay, this will give me the JSON file. Okay, line 5 exchange is misspelled. Okay, line 5 exchange. Okay, that's okay, good, fine. Let's update that. Otherwise, it will throw the error. No problem. Okay, now once we done this, now we have the JSON. Okay, now what I want to do, I want to assert something in that. Okay, I want to get the email field, or the, let's take the first name. I want to get the first name. Okay, again, you need to use the JSON path, right, for that. So JSON dot, okay, JSON is this, right? JSON, and then inside that I can directly have a root node that is ID. So in my case, I want to assert the first name. So first underscore name. Okay, maybe I'll do a printing. So I want to check whether it is working fine. So I'll do like this, and then I'll print it. Let's see what's happening. So it's notice it is printing me Sebastian. So it means it is actually fetching the correct value, that is Sebastian. Okay, this is JSON path, guys. We already know about JSON path. What is JSON path? We have explained this in detail. If you don't know how to write JSON path, you can just directly copy this response, put it in online Jsonpathfinder, click on that node, and then copy the JSON path from this text box. Okay, good. Now we have written a code. So this is our actual value, right? So let me store this in the actual value. So this is the actual value that I got. I want to assert this with the expected one. So let me hard code the asserted, or I can directly tell assert actual equal to Sebastian. Sebastian. Okay, you can also do assertion like this. Let's click on run. Script assertion passed. Okay, so yeah, so this is how basically you can work with it. Okay, you can clear the logs. Okay, so now we have also do the assertions like this. What else we can do? Suppose I want to assert whether the ID is equal to 2. Okay, I also want to assert this. In those cases, def actual ID. Okay, actual ID is basically JSON.id. This will give me the ID. Okay, that's okay. Now expected ID. So expected ID you cannot hard code, right? Here we have hard coded, even this is wrong. But yeah, we cannot actually do it. So in those cases where you want to fetch this ID, this ID is randomly generated from faker script, and this is stored in request response chaining. In those cases, what you can do, you need to write a code to fetch this from here. Okay, fetch this from the custom property. You need to fetch it from here and then assert. Guys, I don't know. Yeah, so you need to fetch these values from here and then you need to assert it. Okay, let's go to the Groovy script, and then we'll also write more script. Okay, where is the script? Okay, let's go to the get employee. In the assertion tab, we have script assertion. Here only we are doing all this. So if you notice, previously we have learned how to get a property, okay, from the test case level. But that is when you have test runner variable. Okay, guys, you have to remember whatever we have learned previously. Okay, this is the one that I have disabled. Okay, if you notice, we have used test runner variable to get a property, test case property. Okay, for getting a test case property, we have used test runner dot test case dot get property value. But the problem is in the script assertion, they don't have this test runner variable. That variable itself is not there, so you cannot use it. Okay, so you have to only rely on the 3 variables that are given there. In that script assertion tab, we have message exchange, context, and log. There is no test runner. We cannot use this method to get a property value in the assertion tab. Then how will I do that? Okay, it is little tricky. Then there is some way where you can fetch it from the context. Okay, so here using the context variable, okay, you can tell expand. Okay, and then inside that you can write that same syntax, dollar, curly braces, hash hash, and then colon, and then close it. Okay, now here you can mention whatever you want to mention. Okay, and the hash after that, Okay, here I can mention test case, and then I can also mention ID. Okay, good. Now this is my expected def expected ID. Okay, the same way I can also define my expected def expected. This is first name. Okay, something like this. Equal to the context dot expand. My first name is available there. Okay, first. I hope this will be the thing. Okay, good. Using this, you can find it. Okay, let's save this. The problem is if you try to run it, it will not work because the faker script is generated in the random string. Okay, let's try to do it. Good. So script accession is getting passed, but basically, if you want to do a proper accession, it has to be before this so that you generate a value and then after that you are asserting all this information. So that's the correct way to do it. Okay, let's go to the accession now. Script accession. So we are actually asserting all these things and everything is working fine. If you want to see whether it is printing correct value, put log.info expected ID. Okay, then you will get all your information. Okay, good guys. So expected ID is 653. So basically you can do assertion like this. What else assertion we can do? We can also do in Postman. We have done the headers assertion, right? If you want to validate whether a headers is available, all those things we have done. The same thing we can also do here. We can also validate the headers. Okay, for validate the headers again, we have the I see some chat. Okay, no chats. Okay, good. So for validating the headers, message exchange, I want to validate some values present in response or not. Okay, message exchange dot response headers. In the response headers, it will give me all the responses headers. Okay, in the key value format, but I don't want all of them. I want to validate only the particular header. Okay, I don't know what is the header, but maybe I'll save this, go back, and let me click on the headers tab. Okay, this is the response headers that we have. Okay, I want to validate one among them. So that is maybe I want to validate whether the content length is 170, something like this. Okay, or that will keep changing. So maybe what else we can assert? No cache, timeout, connection, keep alive, whatever. Okay, we can use connection, keep alive, whatever we want to assert. Okay, maybe I'll take a note, notepad. I want to validate whether the connection string is keep alive, all in small letters, keep hyphen alive. Okay, I want to assert this. Okay, let's do it. Let's go to the assertion tab again, click on the script assertion. Okay, in the response headers, I want to assert the connection. Okay, just copy this. Okay, you need to copy it and then you can just paste it here. I want to get this connection and then let's try to print it and then see what's happening. Log.info. So it is bringing me keep alive. Okay, now if I want to do some assertions like that, I can do it. Okay, let's copy this. There is one trick here, I will let you know, guys. Connection, I want to validate whether it is not equal to null. Okay, in those cases we can easily do like this. Okay, it is not equal to null. Can easily do it. Okay, you can easily do it, but I want to validate exactly this is keep alive. Okay, let's try to check. Equal to keep hyphen alive. Okay, let's try to run it. So the script assertion getting passed, but this one, if you notice, it is telling false. Okay, I don't know why this is log.info, right? So let's me change this to assert. Okay, now let's run it. So it is telling there is a failure. Okay, what is a failure? Okay, let's remove all the logs and try to run it again. Okay, so there is a failure here. See, we all know that it is printing keep alive, but when I do the assertion, it is failing. Okay, let's closely watch this. Okay, it is printing keep alive here. Okay, that is good while I print the connection, but when I assert this exactly to keep alive text, it is failing. It is clearly telling there is something wrong. Okay, but what is wrong, guys? If you notice, this is an array list, it is not a string directly. Okay, so even if you go here and then click on get class, okay, if you use a get class method, it will give you the class name. It'll give you the class name. So if I run it, okay, notice this is giving me java.util.array list. So this is an array list. Okay, you are trying to compare an array list with a string value. Okay, the first time when I tried to find this, I was spending almost half an hour to find this. Okay, so basically it is returning me an array list. If there is an array list, okay, and then it is having the 0th index as keep alive, then you can use this 0th index. I want to validate whether the 0th index is keep alive. Now if you run it, it will pass. Okay, now the all the script assertions are getting passed. If you print it, it's not a problem. Okay, so you can use getClass method to print the class of it. Okay, now everything is getting passed. So basically using this, you can also validate your response headers. Okay, everything else you can do. Okay, so that's the beauty about using script assertions in your code. Okay, we can do all these assertions. Okay, good. Instead of writing multiple assertion, you can create a simple script assertion and assert everything, your response code, response time, okay, JSON path, whatever the value you want to validate, everything. Okay, so here I can also change this to expected first name. Okay, all these things you can do. Okay, good guys. So yeah, that's all about it. Okay, we can do all these assertions. Now this is all about the assertions. We have also done the request response chaining. But the thing is, when I try to run the test, okay, when I try to run the test, okay, everything is getting passed, but the result is not appealing. So what you can do, you can basically run it from your command line. Okay, so for that, what you can do, right click on your test case. Okay, and then okay, you can go to launch test runner. Okay, click on this. Now it is telling which test case, which test suite you want to run. I want to run a sanity suite. In that, I want to run the test case. Okay, the test case is request response chaining. Okay, all these things are good. Okay, whether you want to store all these things, all these properties are there, but just click on launch now. So it is running all these things and there is a failure. Okay, there is an assertion failure, that is completely fine. Okay, test case request response chaining failed without assertions. Okay, some throw, it's throwing some errors. Okay, let's try to understand what it's throwing. Okay, still difficult, right? It's still difficult how to parse this information. But if I can run it in command line, okay, I'll also try to run it in command line. Okay, first they are telling, if you want to run it in command line, go to this particular path. Okay, go to the bin path, and then what they are telling, you have to run this particular test runner.bat. Just copy that. You need to copy this code from the test runner.bat. Okay, once you copy it, you go to that particular location. Okay, and then you open a command prompt here. Now you can right click, and then this is the command that I want to run. Let's try to run it. So it is running that in the command line. Okay, it's still failing because there is some failure in somewhere. Failed without assertions. Okay, still it is not clear. So tomorrow what we will do, so it is telling file not found exception. There is a file that is missing. So request response chaining, it failed access is denied. Okay, it cannot. Okay, maybe I need to run it in command line. Since this is located in C folder, maybe I need to open the command prompt as an admin mode. Maybe I'm not sure. Okay, maybe cmd, we are under admin. Okay, let's try to check, and first let's cd into the directory, this particular directory. Okay, this is not the directory that I'm looking for. It's basically, yeah, I'm seeding into that particular directory, and I'm also need to run that command. Okay, let's go to the SoapUI, copy the command again. And then open here. Let's try to run it now. Let's see what's happened. It is still failing. Okay, we will see it tomorrow why it is failing, all those stuff. Okay, update employee failed exporting. There is an update employee that is getting failed. Okay, that's okay guys, that's okay. We'll see tomorrow why it is failing and all of the stuff. But for now, what I want to tell you guys is, you guys should be in a position, okay, to do the request response chaining, do all the assertions yourself, how to generate random values, faker values, all those stuff. Okay, tomorrow we will read about Excel reading and then other stuff. We'll also generate some reports. so that we can understand all these things. Okay, but all those things will be happening on Tuesday. You have enough time to practice Postman and SoapUI. Please do practice. We don't have much time. Okay, next we are going to start with rest assured after the Tuesday class. Okay, so if you have any doubts, you can ask me now. Otherwise, we'll wrap for the day and then we'll connect back on Tuesday.
This is Kavi here. So I have a doubt, like in the response JSON, right? So how can we assert that that particular response is having some count greater than 5 or 10, like that?
Sorry.
So
What do you want to assert?
in response, so can we make assertions like the response is having the JSON array is having count greater than 5, 10, something like that?
Okay, let's try to do it. Okay, I haven't done that, but there is a easy way to do using Jsonpath count. But you'll also try to do it. There is no harm in trying it out. Okay, so let's go to the script assertions, and then we want to first get the response, right? So for getting the response, again we need to use response. There is something called as message exchange. From that, message exchange, okay, dot response, okay, dot response content. Okay, this will give me that, and I want to get the, I want to also import that class. The class name is import groovy dot json sloper. Okay, let's try to do it. Okay, I'm not sure. So JSON, new JSON sloper, and then I want to parse that response here. Okay, it's good. Once you do this, now I want to validate. Okay, JSON or that info JSON. Let's try to first see what's printing. So it is printing me the entire JSON. Okay, what I can do. I can basically store this in an array list, right? So def list equal to JSON. Okay, now list dot size. I don't know whether it will work, but yeah, just trying it out. And then this is basically log dot info. So if you notice, we have done it. So if in this JSON, whatever the JSON we have arrived, right? Okay, the JSON is an array, right?
Yes.
This array is having different index. In each index, there is an employee detail. I want to get that. What I'm doing, I'm just storing this array into an array list. Okay, this is basically Java, guys. So whatever the JSON we have, I'm storing in a list. Okay, if I print it log.info, okay, list.get class, okay, it will print me array list. Okay, try to run it. If you notice, it is printing me array list. If you have an array list, you can find the size of a list using list.size. Okay, so now if you want to assert this, I want to assert list.size equal to 35. If you can run it, then you can get all your pass. Okay, so basically, you can explore like this and then do it. Okay, it's not that I know everything. Just you asked under the flow, I just tried it and then it worked. Okay, if it is not working, we can do a little bit of googling and then we will do it. Okay, but keep in mind that it's all about Java. If you know Java well, you can convert it and then do some some tweaking and then make it working. Okay, so it's not that it is not possible. Maybe sometime we feel it difficult, but that's okay. Somehow we have to do it. Good. Any other questions from anyone else? Okay. Any questions from anyone? Okay, guys. No, we have 3 days almost gap before our next session, so please practice it well. Okay, the SoapUI Groovy scripting is very interesting. It's just Java. It's just plain Java. You have a lot of complications removed. Okay, maybe initially you may feel it difficult to understand what is this import statement, remember this import statements, because in Java it will automatically import it for you. Okay, this is little tricky, but this is just one time effort, right? You just make a note of it okay, SoapUI nodes. And then when I want to work with JSON, I need to basically import this particular class. I need to write this two lines of snippet before whatever the operation I want to do it. So this is just 3 lines of code that you need to keep a note. Okay, nobody is going to ask, write me a code to parse the response in SoapUI using Groovy. Okay, nobody asks in an interview because nobody knows it. Okay, you cannot memorize everything. It's not about memorizing. It's about how we can use it, right? Good. Anything from anyone else? Yes, otherwise, no more doubts. Okay, then we'll stop the session now and we'll connect back on Tuesday. Please practice it, guys. It looks little tricky, but it's very interesting and very easy. Okay. Okay, learning new things is always interesting stuff. Okay, you need to think like that and then keep learning. Okay, it's not just if your company is not using SoapUI, you don't have to use it. Okay, maybe the next company where you are joining, they may use it. This is just an added skill, right? You put in SoapUI as a skill. Okay, then people know, okay, you know SoapUI. You can also mention Groovy as your skill set because you know Groovy, right? Then they will be interested. Then they will ask you in an interview, how you learned Groovy. Hey, then you can explain Groovy is almost same like Java. You can use all the libraries that you can use in Java in the Groovy. We can use all the methods that are available in Java in the Groovy as well. So you can explain them all these things. So they will get fascinated and interested about what you are saying. Okay, good. Good guys. Anyways, I'll stop. I'll pause the recording for now.